Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Problem Solver Politics live stream. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And today we got all kinds of things on the books, all kinds of things on the agenda. We're going to be talking. Actually, you know what? We should dive right in just into topic number one, which I think is really cool. Yes, we were going to talk about how what Donald Trump's reelection chances are. There's been a lot of buzz on that. But there's actually kind of a cool techno war going on right now. Now, usually it's on the quiet digital fronts that the wars start, and then they become hot and physical. But it looks like between India and China, it was hot and physical first, which has now bled into the cold technical realm, if that makes sense. Cody, tell us what's going on.
All right. Well, I guess we'll start with the newsiest news part of it, because for some of you guys watching, we've talked about it a bit. I'm sure some of you guys might be following, especially if you live in this part of the war, but tensions have been rising between China and India, so to speak, with border disputes, border clashes, originally with sticks and rocks, and now I think, honestly, we'll have to see if we can get more info on what happened in the shooting incident. But the latest thing, as you brought up, is TikTok has been banned in India. Now, there's a New York Times article I want to go through, but then I also want to go through some more of the... Actually, before we get into this, even better, I want to show you guys a couple other things. So I'll go through just the beginning of this, which is that... sorry, I have to skip through the short story here they talk about this, but here we go. So tensions between India and China have been run hot ever since a border clash in the Himalayas 2 weeks ago left 20 Indian soldiers dead. But even before that, there had been some more physical, like I said, sticks and rocks style clashes that have been going on in the area.
And by the way, you have to clarify that we're not just mocking these third world countries saying sticks and rocks.
Well, third world, I guess. But
they were, well, whatever you second world.
I wouldn't call China and India third world countries, but
anything along the Himalayas, I think, is like fourth world. So they were actually using rocks and sticks, though. It was like some kind of strange mutual agreement.
They couldn't use firearms for the treaty. Obviously, if soldiers are shooting at each other on the border, you can't really say there's a treaty going on right now. So part of the treaty was no guns. However, you could say that treaty has been broken lately. Anyway, that was kind of one of the apex or high points of the escalating tensions. Anyway, though, what it led to, and I want to show you guys this. This is from the Ministry of Electronics and IT from India. And it lists 59 different Chinese apps they had banned in their country as part of the escalating. And really closely run through and show you guys is number one is TikTok, obviously, but a couple other ones that I'm not I'm on the Chinese internet, but yeah, I'm aware of stuff like WeChat, Weibo. These are, I think you've even heard of QQ Mail. Anyway, I said, these are like big services. And for those of us in America, I know Americans have American geography, but China and India are pretty close together, man. I mean, like, there's a reason why they use a lot of these similar apps that we probably wouldn't use as much in American app stores.
Yeah. And
they recently announced, yes, including TikTok, all 60 of these have been banned. Now, what's so interesting, too, is that they go through and they mention why, right? So let's go through the why. I just want to show you guys, because it's pretty interesting seeing all 60, and the government text isn't formatted the easiest way to read on screen. It's just this awful wall. It looks like the government wrote it, right? Just this awful wall of text isn't possible to get through. But they mention the Ministry of Information Technology invoking its power under Section 6A of the Information Technology Act, read with the relevant provisions, and they go through all of this stuff, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, there have been raging concerns on aspects relating to data security and safeguarding the privacy of 130 crore Indians. Some of the stuff, I don't know if translation, I don't know much about Indian culture or language. Anyway, though. So noted recently that such concerns also pose threat to sovereignty and security of our country. The Ministry of Information Technology has received many complaints from various sources, including several reports about misuse of mobile apps available on Android and iOS for stealing and surreptitiously transmitting users' data in an unauthorized manner to servers which have locations outside India. The compilation of these data, its mining and profiling by elements hostile to national security and defense of India, which ultimately impinges upon the sovereignty and integrity of India, is a matter of very deep and immediate concern which requires emergency measures. They go on to mention that the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, Ministry of Home Affairs, I think part of it might be translation, but also I think English is something of, there's still some of an official language in India just because the English occupation for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know. My only point is Does that not sound like the worst thing ever? The Cybercrime Coordination Center from the Ministry of Home Affairs. It sounds like those are the people who like find your internet search history and like black bag you and no one ever sees you again. But they mentioned that they go through the 60 apps. The ministry has also received many representations raising concerns from citizens regarding security of data and risk of privacy. So they go on the basis of these and upon receiving of recent credible inputs that such apps pose threat to the sovereignty and integrity of India, the government of India decided to disallow.
So we did some digging, though. We did some digging on, is that just a bunch of bluster? How could a social media platform actually provide some kind of, threat to somebody's national security? And we looked into this, and it's actually pretty eerie. You would always joke that you thought TikTok was just invented by a Chinese intelligence agency so that people would be silly enough to constantly upload a picture of their faces and, give us all their information for free, right? That it's an intelligence person's dream, okay? But recently, you were showing me some videos, if we could pull that video up, people who've tested out and proven that it's doing a lot more nefarious things. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a time where the flashlight app got busted for also gleaning a bunch of your contacts, emails, so on and so forth. And it was a Trojan horse for people that wanted to send all kinds of advertisements and steal email addresses and so on and so forth. By giving you a free flashlight app, they actually were stealing a bunch of your information. Okay. Well, the new iOS app actually notifies you whenever an app takes from your clipboard, basically meaning anything that you've copied or pasted in text format or typed in basically in text format. It's the closest thing in one word I would say to just a keystroke logger. Wouldn't you say? Whatever's on your clipboard?
No, because that would be referring to if they're logging your individual key inputs, that'd be much different. That would be a jillion times worse. No, infinitely worse.
No, it would be too much data to store, though. But what's on your clipboard is basically whatever you felt relevant enough to copy and paste. You know what I'm saying? Is basically what's stored in your clipboard. Correct?
Yes. However, a keylog input could do something like realize you're on your bank account and then what you put in for your input.
Yeah, they could be your password.
It's like literally just the buttons you press. Yes. Yeah. So that's... Regardless,
it's a hypersimplification, but at the end of the day,
with men. Well, just the story. I'll blow through it quickly on Forbes. Forbes wrote an article is pretty good on this because the reason why to get to the specifics, this was a whole 4 days ago on June 26th when this article was written. I think the incident goes back to the 23rd, which would have been a week ago from today. But there was a problem that they mentioned that as of June 23rd, Apple has fixed a serious problem in iOS 14 due in the fall, where apps can secretly access the clipboard on users' devices. Once the new iOS release, users will be warned whenever an app reads the last thing copied to the clipboard. As I warned earlier this year, this is more than a theoretical risk for users. They mentioned that some apps were caught during a worryingly, one of the apps caught snooping by security researchers Talal Haj-Bakri and Tommy Misk was China's TikTok. They go on to mention that they reached out to TikTok, and TikTok said something along the lines of, basically, they said it was something with Google. We had some Google plugin, and that was broken. That was doing it. Nothing to do with us. However, that guy posted then a video on Twitter of himself using the app on TikTok, and I have to have him muted because there's music playing, and they will immediately,
demonetize.
They will spinning kick our head off and take the channel down and play copyrighted music. However, you can notice. So you'll see up here at the top. This is TikTok pasted from Instagram. He says, "Okay, so TikTok is grabbing the contents of my clipboard every 1 to 3 keystrokes. iOS 14 snitching on it with the new paste notification. But watch this. It's pretty crazy." See if I can make it bigger for you guys. But if you keep your eye, you can see it's just constantly giving them these updates. TikTok pasted from Instagram. TikTok pasted from Instagram.
Yeah, it tells you what app that it's taking it from, which is so interesting.
Yeah, and it looks like after doing it, there we go, does it again. But either way, this is one of the this was last week, a various concern we had in America for TikTok. There is something else as far as America and TikTok I wanted to highlight. Some of you guys might remember this one, already know this. TSA, what is it? Multiple government agencies ban anybody who's an employee of that agency from using TikTok in America. Multiple. Here's an article from Business Insider talking about the U.S. government agencies are banning TikTok the social media app teens are obsessed with over cybersecurity fears. Here's the full list. And they go
I didn't know that the government had outlawed. I know
this
that
is our government in America. Oh,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no, for a while, they've been like people for a while. I think going back before 2019, I think House and Senate members were told like, do not use this stuff. So TSA would just be the latest. This is going back to February of this year.
Okay.
A U.S. government agency to ban TikTok and government devices. Blah, 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 blah. Do they have the full list anywhere for it we can see? So I believe they do. So we have the Navy banned TikTok from all government devices. The Army's been advising members against using TikTok since mid-December of 2019. Air Force banned TikTok along with other branches in early January. Coast Guard gave similar reasons for a ban. Marine Corps expresses similar reasoning for a ban in January.
Whoa.
According to a letter from Chuck Schumer, the Department of Homeland Security has banned TikTok from its devices.
We did a podcast on
And
that
then
one, right?
we mentioned a few of these, and then TSA specifically in February. There probably could have even been more. My larger point is to highlight this. It's one thing we have tensions with China. You could argue this stuff back and forth, kind of what's going on between us and China. What's going on between India and China? This is an article from a few days ago, 25th of June, I believe. It's from Al Jazeera. India. China deployed army in large numbers at disputed border. India acknowledged for the first time it has matched China in massing its troops at their contested Himalayan border. So China has deployed large numbers of troops and weapons along a disputed Himalayan border in violation of bilateral agreements, India's foreign ministry has said, accusing Beijing of escalating tensions and triggering a deadly clash last week. Speaking of the clash we talked about where 20 people died or whatever. Just like it's America's military has said don't have this on. India stepped it up. I'm sure India's military had some kind of stuff like that. India is now like, in our country, this app is banned. And it strikes a different tone when you're literally massing soldiers. Like, think about it. It's one thing to say, isn't it kind of weird China's taking data off our phones? It's another thing, is read in that India press release. They're like, well, the country we're basically getting ready to go to war with, we're massing troops at the border. They're taking the data from our people and storing it in their servers. Yeah. It all of a sudden takes on a different hue, and you'll see, like banning entire apps used over an entire country.
I am loving the fact that other countries are banning the use of TikTok for two reasons. First off, China's getting really annoying. All right. Between the coronavirus, lying about the lead paint in our toys, lying about their currency, screwing American manufacturing and marketing, and then ultimately the fact they can't get any of their borders correct. I mean, as a Hollywood guy, I tire of all of the ways in which now Hollywood has to bend the knee to China. I mean, they rejected the Top Gun movie. Their censors bureau did, and they forced the CGI department to take off the Taiwanese flag that was on Tom Cruise's jacket in one of the scenes. You know, I mean, it's absolutely pathetic how they won't let the World Health Organization guy talk about Taiwan or even use the word Taiwan. And then they're forcing Disney to redraw maps in the background that include the entire South China Sea as China's. And now they can't get the freaking Himalayan border right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at what point, who's going to stand up to these people? Apparently India did finally by saying screw TikTok, which I think is awesome.
But again, it's one thing to say, like, if America did, we'd be like, stand there. Dude, like, China and India have had soldiers kill each other in their border disputes on the border. And they have the country whose soldiers are firing on their soldiers, having servers storing the data of their own people. Like, that's what makes it interesting to me. Because, yeah, it's one thing where you could just say, like, oh, China shouldn't be getting away with this stuff. Oh, China. But it's another thing when it's like, oh, India legitimately is starting to say now what China's doing actually threatens our national sovereignty since we're going with them. And now the last bit I want to get into is an article from, I believe it's Yahoo Finance.
Yahoo.
Got me. Finance, not business. Anyway, India's TikTok ban threatens China rise as a global tech power. They get into some interesting things in this article that I hadn't honestly thought of myself too much. I don't spend that much time worrying about China's business interests digitally across the world. Maybe I should more. But anyway, check this out. They said the surprise moratorium hit Chinese internet companies just as they were beginning to make headway in the world's fastest growing mobile arena en route to going global and challenging American tech industry supremacy. TikTok had signed up 200 million users there. Xiaomi Corp is the number one smartphone brand, and Alibaba and Tencent have aggressively pushed their services. Again, we kind of don't think of it that much here in America, but a lot of countries are geographically well, maybe not geographically. There's less ocean separating China
Yeah.
and most countries that aren't us. And in India and great parts of Asia, a lot of these Chinese phones where, yeah, I do believe some of these Xiaomi phones are some of the most like popular phones in the world.
Yeah.
I think some of them are banned in America, some of the Huawei ones, and they get into that.
Because they got tired of the depleted uranium
There's a-
oozing out of the speaker
Well,
console.
No, it's not even that so much. As the more gets through, they don't like the fact that the Chinese government works so closely with some of these development companies. But it's crazy that like I feel like I can't even bring this up, even though it has nothing to do with anything super controversial. But yes, India's policy jeopardizes all those successes and could have wider geopolitical consequences as the U.S. seeks to rally countries to stop using Huawei Technologies Co. for 5G networks. Yes, one of the reasons we don't have 5G in America, I believe, is because some of the countries that do have it, they work with Huawei, which is a Chinese company. And I believe the idea is basically like, well, if we're going to help set you up with 5G for your national broadband,
we get to monitor all your information.
yeah, like we want more control over it. Which is very interesting. So China's tech companies poised to become some of the most dominant and emerging industries like artificial intelligence. And they mentioned that India is one of the first countries. But again, kind of spurred by soldiers at the border shooting each other. But check out this quote. This quote I thought was hilarious. Kind of one of the reasons why I use our title almost in jest. But it says, techno-nationalism will manifest itself increasingly across all aspects of geopolitics, national security, economic competitiveness, and even social values, said Alex Capri, a Singapore-based research fellow at the Heinrich Foundation. It will be increasingly difficult to separate China's tech firms from the CCP and China's geopolitical ambitions. They will find themselves increasingly locked out. Now, I don't know all the stuff, but I wonder if America's government ever does things to maybe help benefit American tech companies. I know American tech companies will give a crap about the American government. They'll
Yeah.
work for China in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But still, I wonder if we do things like maybe, I don't know. I have to feel like that probably isn't that weird for countries to kind of help pull for their local big tech things. And now we're seeing it looks like India banned 60 or 59 apps, basically saying because China's spying at us and we're like at war with China.
I feel bad for some of the games that were on that list of apps, though. Did you see, like, what was the third? I saw there was Mobile Legends. There was, what was the first? Oh, Clash of Kings. Poor Clash of Kings. What did Clash of Kings do?
I mean, look, well,
I bet you
don't know
one
if
of
we
the
have that here.
characters probably had in the background painted somewhere a Taiwanese flag, and that really pissed off the Chinese Censors Bureau.
I think you're misunderstanding this. These are the apps the Indian government has banned from being used in the country of India. These are all Chinese apps India has banned.
Oh wait, no, I can't say. Yeah, so what did Clash of Kings do to piss off India?
They think it's stealing data. That was the whole thing I read, was contending that this threatens the national sovereignty. All that stuff, the whole thing I read was about this.
I didn't realize that. I was also thinking there was like a social implication there. I didn't realize they were saying all 50 they thought were guilty of the exact same thing of stealing the data. Oh, that is nefarious.
Yeah, these are. Look at some of these. DU battery saver. To your point of like the battery app robbing it, right? But then again, like
the flashlight app robbing it. Okay.
Weibo, TikTok, but especially I know like Weibo. Where's the other one I saw? And like WeChat. Like these are like humongous.
Now this is the only thing I don't
platforms
understand
used in China as well, which is really interesting.
Is at the end of the day, all of these apps are based off of code. So can't you just go in and look at the code and say, okay, yeah, here's a command where it says you need to send this information to this server somewhere. I mean, it's just like, when you go into Firefox, right? And something cool about Mozilla Firefox is you can open up a website, and when you open it up, you can say show HTML5 code, and it'll show all of the source code of your website and all of the, gobbledygook
but
that's there. Can't you just decipher that and look at an app's coding and say, oh yeah, this app is telling us that we need to send this information to X, Y, and Z server somewhere. Like, can't you check for that?
I don't understand what you mean.
Okay, if you're worried about
And I believe
a web app doing something nefarious because it's based off of code and the code doesn't lie, can't you just look at the source code on the app and say, oh yeah, here on line 52A, it says send contacts to this server that we know is owned by the CPP. Isn't there a way to just check the code to see if it's doing something truly nefarious?
I don't think it's that easy. I just don't. One.
Okay.
There's multiple reasons I don't program stuff. I just have a theory that what's the best way I can sum it up? Like, sometimes there's a reason why it seems like it'd be really easy to do X. Why won't people do X? Because it probably is not as easy as it seems. It's probably the reason why.
Okay.
I don't know if this is exactly it, but I think this is on the Google Play Store. I think this is one of the things they banned in India from being used in China because they're afraid of the influence they are. This is with Mobile Legends, but it's just some of these apps are just like they're just like regular phone game apps. It doesn't specifically say Mobile Legends Bang Bang.
Hot anime
But
checks and
in
tight
America,
outfits.
there is no Mobile Legends on the Google Play Store for what I could see. One thing I thought was funny, just to kind of somebody actually is it still up here? Somebody had made a video on a YouTube video talking about how Mobile Legends had been banned from India, and it's talking about other countries like Philippines and Indonesia next. But that's something other interesting about all this stuff. It's kind of a goofy video about Mobile Legends looks on YouTube. But again, I hadn't thought of it. But yes, I wonder if other countries will, like to your point, stand up. But again, other countries that are having much more, we have some disputes with China, with America, but countries that are near China, to your point, that are fighting over ocean territory, I guess you would call it, or other various border things, they're realizing these are much bigger threats to them than it would be to us.
So
and they're starting to react accordingly.
So with all of this globalization that's going on, at what point do we just stand up to China and say, enough? You lie about everything. You steal everything. If we want to manufacture something in your country, you force us into a public-private partnership, which really means you steal all of our intellectual property once you have access to the mainframe, though you promised you wouldn't. Your culture is not as transparent. Your political class is completely corrupt. At what point do we just say no more? No more.
Like what, in some giant global war where we invade
No,
China?
not
What do
global
you
war,
mean?
but just like, why not? Why don't, not just made in America, but like, why don't the French just say, okay, we're sick and tired of this too? Why can't there be some kind of just voluntary embargo, or no, not embargo, but like voluntary boycott of all the Chinese garbage, and just say, enough of this. We don't want to mess with it. I've stopped buying Chinese goods.
No, you didn't.
No, I know it's impossible to avoid at this point.
Exactly.
But I mean, overtly Chinese at least. I'm reducing my carbon footprint, and I'm reducing my Chinese footprint.
You bring things you order from China into here all the time. Like I ordered some new doodad.
This Sigma lens?
No,
Sigma lens is
talking
Japanese?
about that. I'm talking about like the phone chargers and the weird little doodad. Those are all Chinese.
Hey, that's on eBay. That was their fault.
My larger point is like, are you talking
used.
about
Cody.
some kind of massive economical war, basically? Some huge trade economic war where we won't use any. Dude, ever heard of the company Tencent? They own so much. I don't think you understand what banning like everything Tencent has interest in would look like.
Yeah, by the way, I've never bought from Tencent. I've heard of Alibaba, obviously.
No. Tencent, I don't believe it's so much as a marketplace. I'm trying to pull up all the things they have a stock in right now in America. But dude, they own parts of a lot of things.
Like what? Enlighten me. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with Tencent.
I'm trying to pull it up right now, a list of everything.
Is it a gaming company? What is it?
They definitely have some stuff in video games, but
Okay.
What is it? I mean, I think I'm trying.
It says Tencent Holdings is a Chinese multinational conglomerate
Yes.
holding company founded in 1998. Oh, during the .com boom.
Now here we go.
Whose subsidiaries specialize in various interrelated service and projects, entertainment, artificial intelligence, and technology in both China and globally.
But yeah,
Which means they're stealing information on behalf of the CCP.
Here's the big one. You might joke about it. League of Legends, one of the biggest games in the world, one of the most popular games in the world. Tencent owns part of the parent company Riot. They recently published another game called Valorant, right? I'm trying to explain to you how weird it gets trying to do what you're describing. So Valorant was a very highly advertised video game that was just released. It had a very ambitious and bizarre advertising scheme where what it did said the only way you could play the game for the first, month or something was you had to watch Twitch streams. Twitch, which is owned by Amazon, which is owned by Jeff Bezos. You had to watch people playing the game Valorant on Twitch. If you did that, there was a chance you could get your access code, and then you can go play the game Valorant, which is owned by Riot Games, which is a subsidiary of Tencent. Isn't it weird
Riot
how
Games is a subsidiary of Tencent?
Yes, but what I'm saying is that's just one tiny thing. But yeah, look what. So Twitch has to stop allowing anyone to stream, because Twitch is an American company. They'd have to stop allowing anyone to stream League of Legends on their platform. Which, by the way, the notion that they do have a banned games list. Functionally, of course, they could tell them to stop. And this isn't the biggest deal. But I'm just trying to explain how. Do you see how just like even weird little things, all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, dang. Like, I wonder how many movies have been produced with some Chinese money backing from somewhere. I wonder how many things are somehow owned through something the Chinese. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, like technically, like you look at just the little things, but like Dumbo is like a video game. Oh, it tracks back to his name, Tencent Holdings. I mean, they've taken parts of many different things now, and it isn't. I don't think as easy as just standing up to China. It'd be like, well, dude, there's a lot of things. I believe Weibo also, which is not very big in America, is also through subsidiary, I think, of Tencent. That's huge. There's some like, here's a weird one. Again, we could probably do it, but I play video games. Some of the stuff strikes my head quicker than others. There's this thing called Funcom. They make all of just like the stupid cheap phone games. But yeah, that's all through Tencent.
Oh, okay.
They do a lot of interesting stuff like that, and it's weird, man. Or even I guess some other stuff is not even that weird. For
Developed
example,
by Funcom, North Carolina.
For example, this was a video game called Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. Very pedestrian, random game that came out, right? That we'd have to start embargoing products like this. Not a big deal. Embargo video games, who cares? But my larger point is there's so many weird digital intellectual properties funded from different areas, owned by different subsidiaries. It would be messy and tough, dude. Like,
so how do we stand up to them, Cody? How do we stand up to the Chinese thieves and knaves?
Well, I definitely think you could start by doing stuff like
manufacturing our own aspirin in the United States of America.
For example,
we could start
I
out there.
don't believe America does use some of the other Chinese communication service. I think we don't really have people in America using like WeChat and because I just remember from being full disclosure from being a fan of a video game that had a very big Chinese player base. It's full disclosure, because anyway. I remember a lot of the info and stuff, I'd have to find links and go through proxies to weird Chinese-only freaking forums, and people would be streaming websites I couldn't even access. Like, there's a lot of websites that have huge user bases outside of America through China. Like, we have a very American-centric internet we use in America. I mean, I think Twitter's an American company. Facebook's an American company. Google's an American company. I mean, in China, they use stuff that are Chinese companies.
Okay.
Not American companies. Like they do have replacements for all that stuff in China already.
Like Amazon's web services.
We already exactly. I mean, Amazon's an American area. Like a lot of the companies are already American companies we do use. We already kind of do, right? But and again, what makes it different is we're not looking at satellite images of the Chinese amassing their forces and building a new river checkpoint along the border that we're shooting each other over. So it's interesting to see the steps you have to take, because I never thought of it that way. We just think of it as standing up to China, right? China shouldn't be doing this. But what happens when they're literally on your door? What happens when one country is taking border from the other country? Does it just stop at a certain point? I mean, it's not good. And again, I mean, we're talking about a standoff that they said 20 people were killed. I read that dozens were taken prisoner, and it was like 20 killed. I don't think total. I think there was more people killed in the Chinese that we hadn't heard about. I mean, it was bad stuff going on, and I don't know. It creeps me out. Anyway, $5 super chat from Scott. But what's up, dude? He said Tencent was blocking non-Chinese pro gamers from competing based on support for Hong Kong. They're one of the biggest Reddit investors now as well. There we go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Reddit's a company that. So is America going to ban Reddit? You can't have Reddit in America because Tencent owns them?
Or did Tencent tell Reddit to ban the Donald?
I don't think anyone. No one cares, unfortunately.
Shh. They're pulling the strings of the puppet masters.
I believe the Donald was functionally shut down already by Reddit. Like, they had already made it so they banned you and people just left and it was functionally dead. That wasn't a huge deal.
Okay, does nobody else see the massive national security problem that this poses geopolitically? That a foreign entity has almost complete control over a very drastic percentage of our conversation. I work a lot in pest control. If you can annihilate 40% of a beehive, the whole hive is toast. You get what's called colony collapse disorder, because without that 30%, it's such a necessary chunk that the economy and the life of the beehive could potentially just collapse by eliminating as few as 1/3 of the hive. So if China can get a 33% chunk market share of any of these massively important industries, who's not to say that they couldn't just, boom, collapse an entire industry of ours, come in and take over it in the ashes? Like literally a hostile takeover in an individual company, but on a micro scale. Like, how are we allowing ourselves to become that vulnerable? I screamed and I moaned in the early 2000s when we sold the last of our Rubbermaid factories to go to China. I barked and I moaned when we closed our last penicillin factory because I was like, how is it we're not manufacturing penicillin, which we invented here in the United States of America, which launched the antibiotics that have saved hundreds of millions of people worldwide, and we can't make our own freaking antibiotics in the very country that invented it? That's like not doing tango in Argentina. That's like not eating crepes and cheese in France, okay? And we now have stripped ourselves of that ability. Like, if they just embargoed us during a pandemic that required, or not a pandemic, but during a time of illness that required antibiotics, they could kill more Americans by simply refusing to send us antibiotics one day, like a siege of old in medieval times, than they ever could with an invading force on any given Wednesday. So how do we let ourselves become this vulnerable? And how do we get that? How do we gain that strength and eliminate that vulnerability going forward? What do we do? Cody,
But I don't get
thou oracle.
But I don't get what you mean by that, though. I just don't understand what you mean 100% by that. Like,
They have such a massive stake
Who?
in so many different things.
China?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, I don't know. We should do about global business. Maybe like you shouldn't be allowed to invest in foreign companies. People have actually.
No, private investment in foreign companies is fine,
this?
but selling out completely.
I guess that would be semantics at that point, right? Like, what's the difference?
We don't have a single penicillin factory in the United States of America.
Okay,
A penicillin factory.
Okay, but that's different though. What law is preventing somebody from making penicillin in America? Maybe it exists. I don't know. What law is preventing them?
We need to make one. And there was one that was getting passed in the White House, or that was getting floated around the White House a week ago that got stampeded by Republicans.
No. Why can't somebody with money make penicillin in Detroit today? What stops them? Does someone come with a hammer and break the building down? Why can't they do it?
Because your penicillin would be so much more expensive to manufacture here, because the Chinese lie about the value of their currency, which devalues their labor cost. So you can make an ounce of penicillin for $10 here when it could be made for $5 in China. So what happens is it slowly gets shipped all overseas until they control a massive chunk of the industry, and then they raise their prices anyway. But now they control all the factories that manufacture penicillin.
Okay, so maybe the penicillin factories sounds like a symptom, and it really doesn't matter if there's a law about building them here or not. If we have a bunch of other problems to go through.
No, there was a problem.
No, but my bottom line is this, dude. It sounds like what brings penicillin factories back then is addressing the things you brought up then. That's how you would bring them back, addressing those concerns you brought up. Addressing concerns about, I mean, what was it recently? We did a video about this. I'm trying to remember. There was something with where they I think it was like the U.S. bank finally said like they were like investigating the Chinese for fraud or something. They're like, their currency's shifting around too much. Just doesn't sound correct. And they yeah, that's the kind of stuff we should be pursuing. Probably shouldn't be pursuing, I'm like, it just, you can't force people to pay more and have them be happy about it.
You can't. No, you can't. And we've done this.
And make them be happy about it. Those accept it.
Listen, I'm going to give you an example here. And you can rip
it
it to shreds if you want.
Love examples.
Yeah, because this is a real life evidence. Okay, we had a problem of national security when there was a cyber attack on a naval vessel that had different chips that were manufactured in different factories in China. And the Chinese government, because they oversee everything and they steal information and patents from every company, you may think you're dealing with a private company that signed an NDA, but you're not. You're dealing with the Chinese government, okay? And they figured out that enough of these parts for this certain type of naval vessel, okay, had been manufactured in China, that when they sent the chips back to the United States to be part of the navigation system of this naval vessel, they put 1/8 of a chip in each one of the parts. And then they were able to shut down the naval vessel, lock its rudder, and it started doing circles. And Americans freaked out and realized, holy crap, a foreign entity literally gained partial control over a naval vessel because they'd figured out that enough parts of that vessel were manufactured in China. They were able to coordinate each one of the companies to program a nefarious code in there. So we changed the law.
Okay, but I have a question, though. Who showed up with a gun and made the U.S. build their naval vessel in China?
No.
Who put them under a guillotine and said, you better buy these parts from China?
No, the bipartisan sellout of American industry to China that happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is what made it
Because
go
I agree.
overseas.
That sounds like a dumb idea, having our ships be built with parts we buy from China. That sounds stupid. I don't know why we do that. I don't really care if the Chinese, predictably, then were spying on us and screwing with us. Why were we buying our parts from a foreign government to build our warships?
So we passed a law, Cody, and we said, look, if you're going to be a defense manufacturer, you have to show that every part and every step of your manufacturing process, from when the aluminum is taken out of the ground to the time that it is riveted onto the airplane, that it is on American soil, getting manufactured and worked on by American citizens, so that we can control the supply chain. So if we do have to go to war, we're not dependent upon a foreign country for all of our parts, our bits, and our pieces.
Okay, that's a great example, to your point, though, for military tech. It's not really a great example for washing machines.
Shouldn't it be for essential items, though? Like, for example, N95 masks, penicillin, aspirin.
But computers, but cell phones, but cameras, what about shoes? What about hats? What about wristwatches? What about digital watches?
Hats are non-essential. Wristwatches are made, the best ones are by Casio,
but I'm just saying,
which we know is made in Japan.
What happens if I'm buying a phone made in China, using apps and services primarily through this phone, based out of China? Does that not, I mean, like I said, the Indian government literally said the abuse is going on. I'm just going to pull it up because that is a fascinating quote. They talk about, where is it? Let me pull it up one more time. It's like the sovereignty and security. Here we go. It has been noted recently that such concerns pose a threat to the sovereignty and security of our country. And they aren't mentioning battleships and tanks. They're talking about Mobile Legends, Hago Play with New Friends, DU Battery Saver, and where's the one I saw? The UCam Makeup app. Because, I do think if we do see escalations between countries at all, I do think one of the first places they'll start manifesting is stuff like this. I think all of a sudden you'll log in one day and a little bit less. Thankfully, America still is the capital, very much so, for digital entertainment. But, I mean, video games is just probably one of the ones where the Eastern influence in general is larger. So China's got more influence there in general. But, I mean, think about it. Like, you could open up your phone one day and have an app conceivably be locked out from you if tensions did arise between us and, China being the other country with it. Because, if we're going to war, it's one thing. It's kind of weird if Mobile Legends takes too much of the data from your phone and sends it back to China. That's kind of weird. It's a whole other ballgame when they're going to go to war with us.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the U.S. government bans all of these apps off the phones anyway, because they realize, like, no, it's a government device. You can't install software on a government device that lets foreign governments track the information on your phone. You can't do that. But at a certain point, it also becomes liability for regular citizens to have their data stolen like that by Chinese, because who knows how they can weaponize it. Weird.
I don't like these people, Cody. I don't like it. We got to fight back. Got to become autonomous. America is all about independence, baby. You know what I'm saying? And I just think you can't be vulnerable like that and still call yourself independent.
Okay, but that's just a bunch of, like, platitudes. America, independence, we should be independent.
No, it's hashtag America.
What does we should be independent look like? What does it look like us doing? Passing laws, I guess. But what do we actually do? I don't know.
What was the question? Did you say what does independent look like?
What does that look like, us being digitally independent from China? What does that look like?
Digitally independent means that all essential services that would be required during a time of war, pandemic, or extreme poverty, could be completely rendered from beginning to end within the borders of our own sovereign nation. That's what I mean. So I don't care if kids are having fun on TikTok. So fine, that's cool. I'm not going to outlaw TikTok.
Why not? India did, because they said it was a threat to their country from China. I don't understand.
Oh, if I'm pissed at them, I will. But I'm just saying, at a time of peace, when I'm not pissed at them, fine, go have your fun. But if we end up having to go to war with China, and I have to shut down TikTok in my country because I'm the president or the Department of Technological Affairs or whoever does that, I know that if I need to make a military decision or an economic embargo against China, and then the crap starts hitting the fan, that my country will survive because we are not dependent upon them. It's just like, why do you have food storage? Why do you have 2 weeks food storage? So you know that if the crap hits the fan, until you can get help for 2 weeks, you can just survive on stored food and stored water for your family. So when the crap does hit the fan and you've got enough to think about, you're not stressing about your food and your water supply. So I think we should develop a system in which, for example, if we have a massive pandemic, if there's a worldwide pandemic, well, we can at least manufacture our own Z-Packs, for example, our own penicillin.
Well, can't we?
No, we don't have a single penicillin factory.
Okay,
it closed
but
in 2012.
Could we repurpose them if we needed to in any pinch?
It would take it takes about a year and a half to build a factory like that.
But no, what if we repurpose something existing that was similar already because we were kind of all hands on deck and we were replacing non-essential stuff with essential? Could we do it?
I don't think that could be done in less than a year. Because the only problem with antibiotics
we did it with coronavirus. We found a bunch of ventilators out of nowhere with coronavirus we didn't have before because we were able to repurpose things. We were able to shuffle things around.
Well, actually, that was just China, who had gotten a bunch sent to them for free and donated by Italy, and then sold the exact same ventilators they didn't use back to Italy at a profit.
In America, we had companies repurpose factories to make them, dude. That's real. It happened.
I believe in American ingenuity and the ability to rise to the occasion, yes, but I'm not enough of an expert on the manufacture of penicillin to know in how short a time scale under duress we could do it. But I got to tell you, I don't think that's as good a solution as us just making sure essential goods are manufactured here. Just like essential military equipment is manufactured here, essential goods should be manufactured here.
I think all military equipment should be made in America because all French military equipment should be made in France and all Chinese military equipment should be made in China. You should be making your own guns you're giving to people to defend. Actually, what's funny, that's not true.
We export so much to France and England.
That's because Americans are kind of suckers and you could trust us to sell you. There's that. Like, we'll sell you guns that won't blow up in your face.
By the way,
they're the old ones.
They totally get the
we don't use anymore.
Well, they do get the crappy versions. Like I had a friend that worked in electrical engineering, and he told me somebody got in a lot of trouble at his office because they had accidentally shipped to England a set of like headsets for communication and night vision that were meant for the Navy SEALs. But the ones that the SAS bought, which are always like the older technology that's not as good, and apparently we don't tell them that we send them the lesser stuff and we keep the good stuff for our Navy SEALs. So when all of a sudden the SAS guys are opening up the packaging, they're like, oh, damn, mate, look at this. They're like, holy crap, this is awesome. This is better than the one we were using over there. And then they realize, crap, they've been selling us the lesser ones and keeping the good ones for themselves. And so whoever mixed up that package shipment literally just divulged a national security secret that we keep the best stuff for ourselves and send our allies like the junior varsity version. And
obviously, though, right?
Well, I think that would kind of go without saying, but apparently, like we said we weren't, and so I don't remember all the details, but he said somebody somebody got pissed about that. That was kind of funny. So,
how about, do you remember the story? It's an interesting story from a while ago.
Jeez, man.
He was put in jail in 2013. How many of you guys remember this? There was this scandal. So let's see if they mention the whole thing. Here we go. So McCormick, 57 of Langport, Somerset, perpetrated a, quote, callous confidence trick. That's one way of putting it. Said the Old Bailey judge. He is thought to have made $50 million from sales of more than 7,000 of the fake devices to countries including Iraq.
Get out.
The fraud promoted a false sense of security, you think, and contributed to death and injury, the judge said. He also described the profits as outrageous. So police earlier said the ADE 651 devices modeled on a novelty golf ball finder are still in use at some checkpoints. Now, what it was, I don't know if they mentioned the whole backstory here. This guy basically was selling, here's a picture of it. He was basically selling these things to people, telling them that it was a bomb detecting device. So when I say people, I'm talking about, like, I think
governments?
Governments.
Oh, gee.
I'm trying to remember exactly where, and people were literally going out into the field deploying these. Anyway, he was sent, but check this out too. 10 years. He made 50 million euros.
That's it.
Or is that be euros or pounds? I think that's euros, right? For look at this. One invoice showed sales of 38 million over 3 years to Iraq, the judge said. The bogus devices were also sold in other countries, including Georgia, Romania, Niger, Thailand, and Saudi Arabia. The device was useless, the profit outrageous, and your culpability as a fraudster has to be considered of the highest order. Yeah. you think. Crazy, isn't it? 10 years, man. That's what I mean. If you have an idea if you have a business idea out there and you think it sounds maybe unethical, maybe even illegal, dude, they don't put you in jail for anything in business. Even if you're selling people fake bomb detectors to go get themselves blown up with, maybe 10 years. Crazy, man.
Dude, that is crazy. Totally crazy. And that's kind of indictment of the justice system and how white collar crime is handled.
It is England, but same in America, I imagine, right, too?
Yeah. You can't look at that and be kind of pissed and think there's people that have died because of that. There's people that stepped on an IED thinking there wasn't one there because a stupid golf ball detector wasn't detecting it. Or I wouldn't say stepped on it, but maybe drove over it or whatever. I don't know. That brother's got blood in his hands. And 10 years in prison, I don't know. That one's bad. Sorry, that one's bad. And stuff like that really bothers me.
And it really was as crazy as this. It was legitimately as crazy as McCormick bought novelty golf ball detectors, which are little more than radio aerials, from the U.S. for less than $20 each before selling them as bomb detectors for $5,000 each. He then made a more advanced looking version, which he was to sell for tens of thousands of dollars each. Police say the only genuine part of the kit and the most expensive was the carrying case.
But this is what I don't get. This is also a massive indictment of the governments that bought it, because you can't tell me that whoever set up the Afghani government, whoever set up the Romanian government, like Romania has been at war with all kinds of strange groups in Eastern Europe over 30 years. There has to be some rugged military device procurement tester. Like if I'm about to buy an RPG, and I'm going to buy it from Smithfield Arms Corporation, okay? Before I stroke you the check for 50,000 of these RPGs that I'm going to send out with my Marines, you see that tree stump over there, bro? Show me that your RPG works, all right? Just show me.
Okay, but how do you prove a bomb detector works? It's a little bit harder. You can't just shoot the tree.
Okay, fine. We're gonna go out to your testing grounds and your proving facility.
He doesn't have one. He was just selling them. He was just selling people
that
boxes
we don't
of
buy from dudes that can't prove.
I
that
agree,
they're...
but obviously people were just buying these things. And one last thing, according to the man himself in court, he said he never had any negative results from customers. Because here's the thing. I think the unfortunate truth of the bomb detector is 99% of the time you use the bomb detector, the problem isn't a bomb, so you really don't know.
Yeah.
And 2,
he can even say with 99% accuracy.
Exactly. How many people actually are using bomb detecting devices frequently to detect bombs? It's crazy to think you can get away with doing stuff like that. But I do think it opens up the can of worms a little bit to your point of the idea of, we do have a very global economy. He bought golf ball detectors in America and was selling them to foreign governments as bomb detectors. I mean, that's one kind of funny way of looking at how this works, right? I mean, that's kind of a classic human con man thing, right? You go to one city, buy something, and you go to another city where no one's seen it and sell it as something else for more money. It's harder to do that now, but now we kind of do it with countries. And just to kind of tie it back up so we can kind of wrap up this thing again here, it's interesting to see, and I kind of wanted to highlight this because I thought this was funny, but again, maybe it's because I play video games, but this is interesting to me. So this is a video game, and they boasted last year. Where is it? They voted last year that this game, with PUBG Mobile, had been downloaded over 600 million times and had 50 million daily active users on the app. Just the game. Jeez. It's not even that big.
Have you ever played it?
No, I've never played PUBG Mobile. Very popular game. PUBG Mobile, some of you guys in chat might have played it. It's very popular. I've seen like television commercials for this thing.
Wow.
Published by
Riot Games.
10-cent games.
10-cent games.
So once again, my largest point is, though, it does show how it is weird how many things intersect, like with various countries. Like, does TikTok on its surface seem like the kind of app that almost every branch of the U.S. military and like security industries would have banned? Right? On its face, it's literally just, ironically enough on its face, right? But it's an app for like dancing around and doing, like, why? Isn't it weird? I think we kind of take for granted, like, well, yeah, TikTok's got some, security issues, but it's like, why would that be something that people in the military, like, you can't? Even if China runs it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? You can't have a Twitter account if you're in the, you can't have a Twitter account if you're in the Chinese army, but you know what I mean? I think China's probably more strict because they know what they do. They can imagine what other countries are doing to them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's Twitter users from a lot of other countries, American company.
Oh, of course there is.
What would happen, though, if other countries were to start doing what China does and turning on the great firewalls, so to speak, and shutting out American products from their companies and building? What if we do enter, as this individual purported? Because let me tell you something, dude. A lot of people live in India. A lot of people live in India. I guarantee you a lot of people in India, here's the thing about right now, talking about the TikTok influencers in India. Does this article not have a headline? Anyway.
Oh,
no. Anyway, though, somebody is going to say, hey, you know what we should do?
What?
We should make TikTok, but for India.
Yeah.
We should make an Indian version of
Which
TikTok.
would be independent, autonomous, and a good move for a sovereign nation.
It would, but at a certain point, so what? Is everybody going to say Twitter's nice, but we're going to have Chinese Twitter? They do have Chinese Twitter. Why do I keep doing this? We're going to have, Bulgarian Twitter. We're going to have French Twitter. We're going to have Russian Twitter. We're going to have Australian Twitter. We're going to have Mexican Twitter. We're going to have Canadian Twitter. Is that direction that we headed?
I think that would be great for every single one of those countries that you mentioned.
But it fractures the global community. It would it'd be the receding from the global community. It literally would be, as that one person mentioned, kind of like a techno-nationalism of people retreating to their national platforms.
Great. Awesome.
Would that? I feel like in the long run, it would just continue to stoke and increase tensions by shutting people off from each other.
No, because just because you've done that to certain social media platforms doesn't mean that, for example, we can't play with each other on a video game. Just because Facebook now is Facebook of America doesn't mean that it's not like I can't play Counter-Strike with my buddies in Argentina in a specific app that you would never be able. Hey, it's a fool's errand.
Speaking of Counter-Strike, very popular game globally. Guess what? Counter-Strike is published and ran through Valve, who with their Steam platform, American company, I think based in Washington.
Okay, so then I'm not worried about them.
But my point is, though, what does happen? And by the way, they're already, that does exist with video games already, and there is some like streaming services. There's various chat platforms that does exist with. But if it does continue, what does it look like? And what if it continues for very valid reasons? Like countries like we're having like literal military tensions with this country. We want to shut off some of our electronic communications with them. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a weird future to head towards, I think seeing it manifest like this with India, removing 60 of the most, probably like the bigger apps China runs through India, and then these are banned and you can't use them. And then just for full disclosure, India's TikTok representative did say that China does not take information from Indian users back to China, which...
Yo, please.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
I
don't know why they wouldn't. But
they don't paint the toys with lead either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We promise. We're honest.
But yeah, so but do you what do you think about that point though? Just the idea of like, do you think it could lead to a kind of rising new era of nationalism that's kind of more, as this guy described it, a techno-nationalism, but just national companies, people going to national platforms?
Well, first off, I don't view half of these other companies as capable. Like, let's be honest. Would Romania, Albania, Greece, France, and Italy have the technological chops to pull off executing their own Twitter?
If they banned the other Twitter, it'd be a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. It would have to be legislatively driven. It would have to be
But
legislatively
that's what I'm saying.
driven.
What if countries do start doing what India did? India legislatively banned TikTok. I'm imagining something probably already exists or will emerge as the new Indian TikTok for Indian users because it's very popular. I mean, there was the famous, speaking of YouTube platform we're on, there was the big run between, what is it, PewDiePie and... I forgot the name of it, but one of the biggest users, PewDiePie, and then the most subscribed user on YouTube is an Indian record label.
Get out of town, really?
Yeah, T-Series, I believe was the name of them. It was like a huge meme on the internet for a while.
Oh,
but just to the point of like the numbers, it's massive. What would happen if just for, more direct reasons, let's say governments want to spy on their own citizens better, and they're like, wow, all of our citizens are using these other apps. What if we banned those apps for security reasons, forced them onto our national version of those apps, and now we got them?
Yeah.
There's no reason they can't. I think one thing that's been made clear, we were talking about it yesterday. You want to talk yesterday about it, maybe more if you want to bring it up more, but you brought it up like the Donald banning and how Reddit purged hundreds of subreddits, YouTube purged a bunch of big users. It's obvious we're entering a new era of the internet. There's been multiple. Was it Web 2.0 what they called kind of?
Yeah.
It's obvious.
It's no longer the wild, wild west. It used to be that the internet was the wild, wild west. And we always thought, okay, how soon until the government finds a way to censor this and regulate it? But the sickening thing is the government didn't find a way to censor and regulate it as quickly as just psycho, politically motivated SJWs did, and feckless corporate diversity coach and HR department chiefs did for sensitivity reasons. Like, our culture ended up, through political correctness, regulating so much of tech before the government could ever get involved.
That's not right. That's just removing of users. I'm talking about the idea of like countries deciding we want to have. Some people people with bad intentions. Even if you say Twitter and Facebook have noble intentions, and they're not trying to steal people's data, they're not trying to spy on people, they're not trying to shape people discuss. Even if that's what you believe, people with bad intentions in other countries are looking at that and going, "Hot damn, man!"
Yeah.
I think China basically is set up that way, where the Chinese government has direct access and control to all the big Chinese social media platforms you have to be on in China because you can't use American ones.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you,
it is like that.
Yeah. To answer your question, I think what will happen to the technosphere and the technoverse is the same thing that happened to all of manufacturing. We saw during the original days of coronavirus, French officials stopping trucks destined to port out of France and go to England coming from Italy, stopping them if they thought there was N95 masks in there that they could take and they could commandeer for their people.
Yeah, all kinds of countries, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of countries were commandeering all the assets of other countries there. And all the countries realized, holy crap, we can't count on these people. Treaties don't matter. Reciprocity doesn't matter. When the crap hits the fan, it is really every man for himself. So they started acting accordingly, and a lot are starting to pass a lot of laws about manufacturing essential goods within the borders of their own country. So in case of times of pandemic, they are prepared with their own chain of command and their own supply chain of essential items. I think technologically that will happen as well. I could totally see that
The
happening.
more you describe what you're talking about, the more it sounds like communism.
No, it's not communism.
You're like, it's not communism, but the government should mandate that there's certain businesses that have to operate in California and in the country. They have to provide certain benefits to the people in the country. They have to be something that's only...
just because LA has its own police department.
I agree. Maybe we should nationalize the grocery stores so that way we can ensure that China isn't have control over... Maybe we should nationalize every social media platform because then we can ensure that...
No. Nationalization means you're taking over the production, the means of production. Whereas if you legislatively...
You just want to legislatively mandate they're done certain ways, not control them. Just legislatively mandate
Cody,
where and when they can operate.
How is the U.S. government saying we're not going to buy an airplane that's a jet fighter for the U.S. Air Force unless you can show us that all of it is made in America?
U.S. government
That's not nationalizing.
How is the U.S. government telling it you can't have your onions grown somewhere else and flown into America because they have to be American onions because in times of crisis we might need the onions? How is it when the government says we're not taking control, but legislatively we've made a set of rules that said you cannot produce this here, you cannot produce with that, you can't do business with them, you have to do business within our set of parameters inside of our borders to provide the service in the way we've deemed you can because you're essential. Is that not weird?
It is not weird to me if we have
Are car tires essential?
I would say yes.
So the federal government should be mandating that there's a certain... And here's the thing. What if car tires that are only made in America, what if they can't compete in the market? What should they do then?
No, listen, I'll tell you exactly what. I would have a law because there is peacetime and there is wartime. Okay? And during wartime, we're not going to be using car tires as much as blankety blank, whatever. So I would have a simple import and export tariff system in which cheap tires from China are slightly taxed. Part of that tax would go to UBI, and then part of that tax would go towards a small subsidy on an essential good so that you can compete as American tire manufacturer. If we can have computer algorithms that scan Amazon for the average cost of a foreign tire versus the average cost of an American tire, and there is indeed an average of a $5 difference.
It's not the free market, though. It sounds, what you're describing sounds like the complete opposite of the free market. It sounds to me like you're describing the government stepping in to ensure the market works precisely how they want to. There's a super chat I want to get to. So $5
Hit
super
it.
chat from Scapo, and it's not connected, but I see you there, man. He said my super chat didn't work, LOL, but I got you. He said he was saying that Starlink from SpaceX will make national firewalls really hard to enforce. I vaguely remember hearing something about that, so I'm pulling it up right now to take a little bit more look into that. But
Starlink by SpaceX?
Starlink by SpaceX. I know, sorry.
Oh, yeah, because now it's coming out of the sky, which has no border. Like, you can't link an IP address to a satellite.
High-speed internet access across the globe.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what this is for? This is for when the rich people buy their $5 million
Bunkers.
property in Montana, and they're like, what the hell? There's slow internet out in Montana? It's like, yeah, dude, what'd you think? I have a $5 million house. This is an outrage.
Yeah.
So, Elon Musk is like, don't worry about it, dude. Now, in all seriousness, so that is really interesting. And I wonder, though, could governments just block it locally?
Well, here's the other thing.
Remember, keep going, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, there's always going to be a workaround. Just like you can use a VPN in order to send emails to American servers that are blocked by the Chinese government. If you're an expat that's living in China, there's going to be somebody who's going to know how to hack a code. I mean, you can always jailbreak an iPhone. You can always hack the firmware using black magic on the old Canon cameras. There is always a way. There will always be a way in which you can hack the firmware that prevents the average Joe from... I mean, they do this even with Apple TV. Like when you sign up for the MLB app and you want to watch Major League Baseball, you have to choose your region. And then you'll notice that if you choose that you live in Los Angeles, they actually charge you for LA Dodgers games. Whereas if you sign up for your region as Milwaukee, they let you see the Dodgers games for free.
Well, I'm pretty
So a
sure
lot of
nowadays
people that-
they... Well, yeah, but they'll even you have to use VPNs and stuff. Like,
Well,
trust
that's
me.
what I'm saying. There's going to be a VPN.
I've tried. Yeah,
there's
you
going to
have
be a
to.
VPN for Starlink.
Well, but what's interesting, the reason I wanted to bring it up is it's actually a Wikipedia article about that. I thought it was interesting. I was looking for an article. There's a Wikipedia entry. The reason I like going to the Wikipedia entry, it's obviously
Awesome.
not
Okay.
the most authoritative source ever, but I always think it's funny. But the 2019 internet blackout in Iran. I don't think you remember this. The 2019 internet blackout in Iran was a week-long total shutdown of internet. It was ordered by the Supreme National Security Council and imposed by the Ministry of ICT. The blackout was one of the Iranian government's efforts to suppress
Fuel
protests. I don't know what that thing is type
the rising cost of fuel.
Oh, duh. Thank
Yeah.
you. It was just weird. Suppress
I
fuel.
remember
Like,
this.
to suppress the protests
I
for
remember
fuel.
this, yeah.
But during the blackout, Iranian citizens could only access the National Information Network. Mohammed Javad Jahromi was sanctioned by the United States Department of the Treasury because of his role in the internet censorship of Iran. But check out this interesting. So the execution, how they had to do it. So it took 24 hours, but it looks like the ministry had to order for a range of ISPs and mobile data providers to stop providing users with international network and connection to NIN. Now, I wonder if I'm reading through, the reason I wanted to bring it up, if there was a truly just global network that you could connect to wirelessly from I don't fully understand, it would seem like, that would, because it does sound like the way that Iran had their internet blackout was they just literally called up the companies that provide internet locally and said, shut it down.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to do it if it was a global thing. I wonder then also, though, if you could, you know what I could think of they could do easily, though?
What?
If they could somehow isolate certain devices that you need, like if they could just mandate you could only sell electronic devices in this country that literally cannot connect to that network, right? But
Okay.
that's interesting. It's an interesting premise, though.
Or maybe we should just all go Luddite and start reading books again. Start actually cultivating our inner spirituality so we're not relying upon external stimuli in order for us to get to that good place inside. You know what I'm saying?
How does that help me communicate with people across the globe?
Why do you need to communicate with people across the globe? What do you need to know about the CCP? Why are you talking
I
to
guess
those
you're right.
Chinese
We
nationals?
should shut down everything and only have national networks, and we just demonize foreigners again. We'll go back to that. That'd be
You
fun.
know? No, they're not foreigners if they're American citizens.
No,
ours.
every country will just do what
You
they
by
did.
Chinese. I just want you to be a Chinese American.
Every country will do what they did 100 years ago, and nationalism roused for the last time, and they're basically be like, those dumb idiots.
Hey, there ain't
from other
nothing wrong with
countries.
nationalism. There's plenty of good stuff about nationalism, baby. You got to be proud to be an American. And that's the cool thing about American nationalism. It's completely different because it's one of the few non-ethnic nationalisms out there. And it's a nationalism based upon ideals which are human and universal instead of ethnicity or culture, which is defined by geography and time. That's why American nationalism is so unique.
Fascinating. It just
Hashtag America.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't think there's any country that when nationalism is on the rise, not the decline, when nationalism is actually on the rise, I don't think any country can explain a reason why their particular nationalism isn't great. I think everybody has a great reason why their particular. I agree. I think America's pretty cool for that reason. Anyone can be an American. Part of the reason why is because literally nobody is there was no. America came about weird, right? In fact, that people came from other parts of like the world across
gloriously weird
across like an ocean and then expanded over the whole thing over a course of 100 years. Weird stuff, and violent and bloody, like every country. But it's just funny because there isn't. We were talking yesterday with the concept of like Anglos, right? And it seems like why would you need to have that? Well, it's like because when you're on a continent where everybody's a white European, you have to have a term that's more specific than white European. So for the white Europeans in white Europe, they created terms to denote which particular kind. But yeah, it's interesting in America because it always was a country of different people. I mean, mostly white at the founding, right? But because so many different groups had came and been welcome and have been more open. That is interesting, but still, I think every country can explain why nationalism is good for them. Because no, you don't get it. We're awesome. I get it, dude. I get it. Trust me.
Well, you also talk about how when nationality is on the decline or on the rise and stuff like that. And I don't think that's a really good metric to use because obviously if everything's going economically well and people have extra money to go travel again and associate with those fun Italians and Frenchmen over there or go and visit all my old friends and cronies in Argentina, well, yeah, I'm still proud to be an American. But, I'm not isolationist because I'm not in a time of war. So is my nationalism on the decline because I'm traveling a lot and I'm interacting with a lot of the other foreign countrymen and realizing that we all have this common human strain and we're all children of God that have, the purest and the most devilish of intentions sometimes.
Why would you leave? There's a great story I heard once, and it was of the Egyptians.
Okay, what?
And I don't know if this is true or not, but it's one of those anecdotes I like to think about. And it said that there was during like one of the better periods in ancient Egypt. So the Egyptians didn't really have any perception of like a heaven because nothing was more perfect to them than Egypt, which I have to imagine wasn't true for the average person living there, right? Anywhere, but still, it's a very interesting concept, right? There is that level of nationalism is the word we'd use now, right? But there is that level of why would I ever want to leave where I am? Where I am is the best place ever. This is perfect. I don't need to go anywhere else.
Interesting.
I think that's more what I'm talking of. Yes, we can talk specifically of early 20th century, late 19th century nationalism in Western Europe. We can talk specifically about that kind, but there is also this sense of why would I need anything else from anywhere else?
Well, we actually already have that a little bit, Cody. If you look at the statistics, in fact, if you could look this up while I'm spouting it, that'd be interesting. But if you can't, that's fine too. But you look at the average adult male between the age of 18 and 35 in Australia and England and in Canada, and a huge chunk of them have passports and use them somewhat regularly. Okay, whereas I think it's only 15% of the average Americans between the ages of 18 and 35 have and use their passports. Americans don't travel that often. And when they do, they generally stay within their country. Why? Because geographically, the United States of America is blessed to be on two hemispheres, and be a massive. I mean, you can go from Hawaii to Florida, then to Nova Scotia on the border of Maine.
We're just big too.
And we're just massive. So it's like if somebody traveling from the French Alps to go skiing and then all the way to the Spanish Riviera to go to the beach is no different than somebody going from Vermont to Myrtle Beach. And we view that as, you're not really getting out and seeing much. When in reality, culturally, there's a huge difference between the Americans in Vermont and the Americans in Myrtle Beach. Geographically, it's the same as going from England to Italy or from France to Italy, I apologize. And culturally, except for the linguistic barrier, it's almost the same. So part of the reason why I think that Americans don't have their passport and travel out of the country as much is because there is so much you can see on a road trip here within a 3 days journey as you could see all over Europe on a road trip within a 3 days journey.
Okay, I agree. Hey, my favorite picture ever is
Hashtag America.
My favorite picture ever is the picture of Texas superimposed over Western Europe. But moving on, though, because we're coming up to the end. We only got a few minutes left.
Yeah, it's true. If you guys got any super chats in your system, make sure you get them out right now. Any final questions?
Well, and I get to the other part of the topic. So, could Donald Trump get reelected to end 2020? What do you think?
Yes. And can
Just
I give
because,
you my,
can
I give you my prediction?
Yes, but I just wanted to phrase it. The reason why I phrased it that way
is because we typed it in wrong.
Well, no, because things are gonna get crazier. Things have already gotten so crazy in 2020, and we're almost there. Right? We've crossed the halfway mark. Things are gonna get even crazier. Okay. I still believe Biden's not gonna be in the ballot. Someone else's name will be there. Do you think after all of that somehow he still wins?
This is my election prediction. If the election were held today, America is suffering too hard, and Donald Trump has not done enough to restore order and law and order here, that he would lose. And he wouldn't lose because Joe Biden is good. He would lose to a mule, because right now the people are suffering and there is chaos. But the BLM protests, the criminal element of the protests, the left in general that's angry and pissed off and out there and able to protest, doesn't know when to stop. And just as Jordan Peterson says, we all know what it looks like when the right goes too far, but we don't know what it looks like when the left goes too far. The left will keep pushing the envelope, will keep protesting. All these boomers that have never experienced political violence in their lifetime, all of these city councilmen, mayors, and boomer chiefs of police who don't know how to put their big boy pants on because they've never had to do it in their lifetimes before, and they're all afraid of what, the New York Times might think, will not do enough to instill law and order. And what's going to happen is that it will get worse. The riots will get worse. And Donald Trump, in his kayfabe, will put himself over in a couple of decent performances on stage, just like he told Hillary Clinton after she said, it's a good thing that a man like Donald Trump and his temperament isn't in charge of our country. And then he leans in the mic and says, yeah, because you'd be in jail. He's going to put himself over in a couple of really good World Wrestling promos as the law and order candidate that we all need. And with the same fervor that working class Americans believe that he would fix the bad trade deals and he would drain the swamp, which was the angst of 2016, I think he will work the kayfabe and he will put himself over as the law and order candidate that the insatiable left will create, because in the mindset of Americans come August, September, October, November, 5 months from now, I think that the fact he'll be able to say, I sent you checks and I wanted to send you more in your economic struggle, but the swamp stopped me, but I'm the one that restored order and I'm going to keep restoring. I think the restoration of order is the ultimate make America great again, make America ordered again, 2.0. And it will be a last minute ditch effort that will result in a landslide victory, because the left can't help themselves and won't stop protesting unless they actually have to go out and get jobs. Then the protests will stop early and they'll go back to just yelling at him, and then the economy will normalize, and then he'll be able to make an economic argument. So I think 2 out of 3, I believe he pulls it off and gets reelected.
Interesting. Didn't understand half of it, but interesting.
Well, we got 3 super chats all of a sudden. We now have to get 2 really fast.
My Melanated Scope, $5 super chat, said, remember the 5th of November. So vote on the 3rd, recount on the 4th, revolution on the 5th. I hope for the sake of everyone alive, there's no revolution, because almost every revolution, this is what happens. Everybody dies, and then the emperor is crowned. It's basically what happens after almost every revolution. So hopefully we don't have one of those. Ryan Marquette, $2 super chat, said, when do we get another video without Cardin? I don't know. That's a good question.
What do you mean another video without Cardin?
And then a $5 super chat, Azarel, do Cardin and Cody ever have debates with people in Discord? Any discussion in Discord regarding problems that's rising in the face of everything? I guess no.
Hey, super chats
That's
are the
the
best
short
way.
answer. Exactly. Short answer is no for any particular reason. I just don't get around to it. Probably should more than I do, but no, we don't do it right now.
I debate people in Discord.
God. Go to Big Garden. Yeah. Go to Big Garden in Discord. $10 super chat from Paul Singh said, do you think major U.S. companies still consider themselves American after they've branched out globally? I think, like most things in America, it depends on what benefits them at the moment. I think they're American.
Like all these stupid
a lot of them are
ships
based in probably not America, right? Like
yeah,
Ireland, right? How many company. I think it's
No,
a Google.
the Bahamas.
No, Ireland. A lot of these companies are based.
Tech companies go
Ireland
to Ireland
for great deals. Yeah, but
for
the
10% corporate tax, while it's 14% here.
I do think they'll understand as well. I think the bigger thing is just that they were founded by or ran by, owned by currently people in America. I think that's the larger thing. It's just they're American companies. But I do agree. No, I do not think that Twitter views itself ideologically aligned with America, the American government, the way that Weibo and WeChat or some of these Chinese companies kind of think they are. I definitely do not think
I think, no, they
that is
present
true
as
at
American
all.
companies, but they abuse the American system. This is one of the few things that I agreed with Barack Obama on. Okay? I can't remember the term. He called them corporate traitors, did he call them? Or did he call them fiscally treasonous or corporate defectors? I don't remember exactly the term that he used. But like the Facebook guy that after he IPO'd, he renounced his U.S. citizenship and declared himself a citizen of Shanghai. So he got to keep an extra 14% of his 40 billion in taxes. Like, I just think, I don't know. I look at that and I'm like, if you are a cruise line that we all know as American, but you're deciding to flag all your ships in the Bahamas
That's
to
ridiculous.
skip out.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Which one is ridiculous?
No, I agree with him. I agree. That's ridiculous. Given they do that.
Yeah. So I there has to be. I mean, I wouldn't want to think of a punishment because I don't want the government to go around hounding people. But at the same token, I don't know how else you deal with a company that's completely American, but will forsake fiscal participation in the system.
And they
just
said Singapore, not Shanghai. Because I'm like, dude, I don't think China lets you keep all your money.
Oh yeah, sorry. Did I say Singapore, not Shanghai? Okay, I apologize. But anyway, My Melanated Scope. Thank you very much for the super chat. My Melanated Scope says #bring Britney back, #BBB, #PSP +1. Oh, what's PSP +1, Cody? What's that mean?
Dude, So let's use some context clues here.
What?
So let's walk it through. We'll do context clues. Remember that
Yeah,
stuff?
I do. I'm excited.
So #bring Britney back.
Like Britney Spears, right?
That would be the most relevant Britney to the show. Would be Britney Spears. That's correct.
Oh no, duh, you're right. We're talking about Britney the Shadow.
Yeah, your
That's
wife,
right.
Britney.
Yeah, she's gonna be in our call-in
which
show.
would be the +1. There you go. I think I used the context clues to figure it out.
That's true. You know what? Britney the Shadow is a beloved member of the show and has not been present for the past 2 or 3 weeks. She actually
just the past
switched,
2 or 3 weeks.
It sounds we haven't hit a month without having her on, have we?
It's probably only been like 4 months, but
Oh crap! Really? Oh well, she did.
probably has been closer to 6 months.
She
but-
changed shifts at the family business to the afternoon, so we're definitely gonna have to work her into the schedule. So, yeah, sorry about that one, guys. I'm a bonehead, but anyway, we're gonna get her back. Hey, who else agrees with My Melanated Scope here that we need to bring Britney the Shadow back? Let us know, and we'll get her to come back in one of the upcoming shows. If not Thursday, the call-in show.
And also, just as an aside, we are big Britney Spears fans here at Problem Solved Politics as well. We used to listen to Britney before we started the streams more than
We, Cody?
Well, you were in the room.
I was in the room. Oh, that's funny. Okay, we got 5 more left.
I'll tell you what.
5 more minutes left.
And to get back to the so you think
Okay.
Trump will get reelected? Is that the point?
I think based on one if.
Short. Yeah, short. So
One
yes,
if.
with an if, yes. I honestly,
If the violence continues, he will get reelected.
you know, one of my favorite characters in all this has been. I'm trying to find the video or the quote of it. I saw it earlier, but Mrs. Bowser, she's the mayor of Washington D.C. She has been one of my favorite characters in all of this. She was the one responsible for the renaming of the street in Washington D.C. as Black Lives Matter Plaza.
Totally.
She was the one responsible for painting Black Lives Matter on the street. Not physically herself, but she was the mayor who ordered it done, right? However, I love her. She's got this great style to her, so I respect it a lot. She's the kind of politician where she does that, and then I want to pull this quote up. I want to get this quote up here too as well. However, then there was a time where they were talking about, of course, defunding the police, right?
Yeah.
Well, she not only did not want to defund her police. Let's see if I can find the actual quote here. But I believe her exact here it is. I absolutely loved this answer. God, it was something along the lines of, here we go. We fund the police at the level we need to fund it. That was a response to being drilled. And why are you raising it? Why?
I beat my children the amount they need to be beaten.
But the implicit thing here is kind of like, but wait a minute, Miss Bowser, you renamed it Black Lives Matter Plaza. You ordered them to paint Black Lives Matter on the street. So yeah, they these people are chanting. They wanted the police defunded, but you're increasing it, right? Why was it? I love that. We fund the police at the level we need it funded. And my city council is my current budget proposal in front of them. And they're like, yeah, but the budget you put out last month and calls for increasing funding. They keep trying to get to like, yes, but are you reconsidering this? Not at all. What our budget proposal, and I can't speak for other departments, but they fund the people that we need. Earlier, there's been videos going around on social media. See if I can pull them up.
Yeah.
Where there's these tents that are getting pulled down in Washington, D.C. See if I can find the video here. I'm see if I can find it on Twitter for you guys. But yeah, basically what was going on is they were going around in Washington, D.C. and they were pulling down. Here's the video that's going viral. Tents that were distributing supplies or whatever. And again, people are asking them, but this is weird. This is, Miss Bowser. I thought you're the one who said, Mayor Bowser, you said that you wanted those people out here. You're supporting the protests. You're out here. And I'm trying to find the quote. I cannot find it again, but I swear to God I read the quote from her on this was, "We do not allow tents in the city of Washington, D.C." Just cold. But that, to your point, that is, I think, the kind of person who could operate from the left and win this. Somebody who knows how to placate the people in the right way, but at the end of the day is, we fund the police at the level they need to be funded and we don't allow tents.
Yeah.
I'll rename the street.
Oh, yeah, I'll rename the street,
We'll
but
do
we all
this.
know I'll punch you in the face
Exactly.
at night.
I think if they're in, again, I don't know if Biden will be the person on the ballot. It looks like maybe, but dude, it just feels weird that they're actually going to confirm Biden as the nominee. And he himself's made a big deal about how his VP needs to be ready to step up like right away or something like that. I think if he picks a VP that kind of has that style to them, the style of that kind of, they walk that line between being nice when they have to be, but still maintaining their authority in all levels, which is another reason why I love this style of governance from her. Is style of governance where it's like, look, I'm allowing you to protest. Yeah. I'm renaming the streets.
I think
you have done nothing I didn't let you do. And when you stepped out of line, I had my guys come with bikes and tear your stuff down. It's a very interesting way of cementing your authority where you bend a little bit here and there. You bend a bit, but realistically, you only bend to save face. So it's like, these protests are going on at my behest. I love them. I'm renaming streets after them. I'm painting the sidewalk. They want you to reduce police funding. No way in hell I'm doing that. I am spending more on my police because I need them. And just doing that. I think that could be the one risk to Trump. Biden isn't that, but someone like that could beat him.
Well, I think a lot of it also depends on his VP pick, though, Cody. And I think this is a very shrewd
that was my
move.
point. That's what I was trying to say, yeah.
This is a very shrewd. I almost think this is a good strategy. If you want to get somebody in that you don't think is predominantly electable, maybe this idea of getting an elderly person to win and then having the real person you want as VP becomes a new thing,
Yeah, I mean, but things move fast, right? I mean, it's relative to now maybe, but in the future, I think you can see it happen 20
Kamala
years.
couldn't win on her own, but man, we could piggyback her in on Joe Biden.
Do you believe that at all, though? You think they actually could do that?
I think it's going to be very easy to make it look as though Joe Biden had a heart attack. The powers that be, you know what I'm saying, could do whatever they wanted to put whoever they wanted in as VP. You know what I'm saying? And this would make a great movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost like a movie script, right? But
hold on, I want to play this for you.
Okay.
This is so I finally found it. This is you know how I know, and I'm not trying to put this woman over too much, but I love this. Mayor Bowser. You know how I know though that this is real stuff going on and that's actually how she does this stuff? Oh, there's the video. So I could not find this written anywhere, but so Annalise, and we're going to play it live. I haven't heard this yet. So Annalise Gale says, following questions about this video, Bowser says the city does not allow encampments. See, I love that language of, we'll fund how we have to. We don't allow this stuff. Here's the actual full answer here. I want to play it and see what it is.
In the district. Have you seen the video of the officers removing the tents?
I've seen part of it, I think.
So I guess going back to you saying that people are not allowed to stay in tents, but you allow the homeless to live in tents during Occupy DC because
we actually do not allow the homeless to live in tents. We remove encampments. We have a very strict protocol about removing encampments, and we do.
I was told by your
Then you were told wrong.
administration that is currently been suspended. That protocol has been suspended during COVID. So,
I don't know why anybody would have told you that.
so you are currently.
You'll notice she doesn't deny it's the case. She just, I don't know why anyone told you
Dude,
that.
this lady's a savage,
But
man.
that's
She's
what I
just
mean.
like
I think
throwing
somebody,
it down on the media.
Somebody with that level of that kind of level, savage is a good way of putting it, right? Just being like, look, I'm
a
going,
mafia boss. I
yeah,
love it.
But again, this is the same person who's like, renamed the street Black Lives Matter Street, Black Lives Matter Plaza. She's marching with protests or yada. Like, I think this is the person who is able to play that kind of two hands, and they make it seem like, oh no, I'm with the people protest. But then it's like, yeah, but why are police officers using bikes as shields to batter down people's like tents that they're distributing water out of? And she's like, we don't allow tents. That's why. Like, you're not allowed. But what about the homeless? Don't allow them either. No encampments. But people in your administration said you do. Don't know why they tell you that. Never that I was doing it. I just hadn't seen this level of performance from someone on the left in a while. If that's tell you what, she's Biden's VP, I'd entertain voting for Biden.
Okay, well, I got to tell you, when you say if she's Biden's VP, you would entertain voting for Biden. I think there's a lot of people that would think the way you did simply because they viewed an opportunity of squashing the chaos and calming the storm through her, because people would be viewing her as the future president, and she's the one that seems like the one that is restoring order. So it will all depend on this.
Well, yeah, exactly.
If the violence continues, there will be a thirst for a law and order candidate. And the question will be, who comes across as the law and order candidate? And you have to ask yourself, do you honestly think Joe Biden, when he goes toe to toe in Donald Trump's arena, his element, the World Wrestling rink that he got a lifetime membership in the Hall of Fame of, do you really think Joe Biden is going to out kayfabe, or whatever the wrestling term is going to out put over himself over Donald Trump? No.
I have no idea what the words you're saying mean at this point. But no, I'm just saying.
Come on, you know what I'm going after.
A little bit, but not really. No.
What?
I really don't. I don't know what you.
Do you really think that
I think
Joe Biden will be able to present himself as more the law and order tough guy than Donald Trump?
No, but I still just, in my weird, crazy brain, do not think Joe Biden's name will actually be on a ballot. I think his VP will be promoted at that point. And I'm not trying to say this particular person, but I do think we are at a point where clearly we need somebody in the executive branch who understands how to wield authority in 2020. It's not Donald Trump. He has no idea how to do it. I think we need somebody who has a better idea. People need to feel heard and coddled, but if you make them feel heard and coddled, it's unbelievable how savage and stark, like how savage and how like stark the contrast can be from what you actually do in the background is. And I think Trump does the inverse, where he makes it seem like he'd do all this, and then he doesn't do anything. I think, honestly, in 2020, you need someone to govern who's the inverse of that. Someone who speaks kind and, oh, of course, we want the, like, the kind of person running for president saying there should be a revolution just to get in office and be having their police shoot people at the inauguration for protesting against them, right? Like, I'm not saying that extreme, but you know what I mean? It's the kind of person who would be like, oh, yeah. It's the kind of person who'd be like, go out and protest. It's good to protest. And then as soon as you turn your back, they have their police demolish your tents and they pay more money to the police. That kind of person is the kind of person I think that can actually effectively maneuver and wield the authority of the presidency in 2020.
Yeah.
Barack Obama did that. Barack
Obama was, he'd lie to your face.
He was all smiles and nice. And then it was CIA drone strikes of innocent people in the Middle East. It was like,
he's like, if you want your doctor, you can keep your doctor. All of you old people that are concerned about losing your blessed doctor in Obamacare, no, it's going to save you money. You can keep your system. All right, guys, dude, go screw everything. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Obama was such a good politician because he was a charismatic, absolute liar who would lie to your face.
Well, it's less the lying, but it's more like you need to be like you need to appear softer and then actually have the kind of the authority behind it. Where Trump appears like he has authority and there's nothing behind it, and that's just, I think we've seen what that looks like in 2020. It's a mess, man. It's just like constant attacks against whoever that person is. There's Trump today, but anybody who runs that way, I don't think it's tenable. I think it just falls
Yeah.
apart. You need somebody who navigates the media sphere and kind of BS's people the right way. And then behind it, though, actually is still the president. And we have the inverse in Trump. We have a guy who just BS's all the time, and there's no president behind it. And it really, you could tell. And it really leads to a lot of the nonsense. I think you see the hyper-partisan baloney, because there is no sense that anyone behind the scenes is actually taking care of things. It's weird to explain, but just perception-wise, people don't like it. I don't know.
Okay, so guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for being with us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. We're also on Facebook and on Instagram. If you guys want to send us a message, we're going to hang around for another 60 seconds for any of your final super chats. But make sure you reach out. We're also going to be doing this week. There's one day a week where we're going to do this call-in show. Thank you to it was cool setup account with Vonage Business. That's an unpaid little plug for them, but I gotta say, of all the IP systems I've used so far, that one seems to be the best. So if you're ever looking for it, I recommend it. But anyway, we're gonna have a call-in show, and it's gonna be Thursday. And if it's good and you all behave and we can get the technology out, we might even do it a little bit more often. No promises yet, but we're definitely looking to incorporate that into the show. So anyway, Cody, you have anything else you want to say before we go?
No, not really.
No, you good? All right, awesome. So it was real and it was fun, and it was real fun. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.